Hello there, Azer here, back with another video. Wow, what a trip. Battlefield 6 Beta. It was really an experience. Now, I think playing and grinding for the, challenges is probably enough for me to say that I've actually played every single maps already. Maybe also all the modes as well. Although most of the matches that I actually are able to find matches with is mostly conquest, the conquest free weapons mode. I think that is the only mode that is actually prevalent. The other modes like the close conquest just somehow it's 50-50. Sometimes you get enough people to play, and then after that when you try to matchmake for the close one again, then suddenly everybody loses interest and just don't play it anymore. So apparently everybody just prefer to have open weapon systems. What a shocker, right? Yeah. Prior to a lot of people's belief, everybody actually just prefers the open weapon system because sometimes, you just gotta go ham, and change your weapon depending on the situation at hand. Some people also like to play assault as a recon class for some reason because of this passive skill. I think I mean, it's fine. I think Battlefield 6 Beta still has a lot of jankiness to it. Jankiness as in also in optimization issues. I think there are still memory leaks, if I'm not wrong, that is happening with the games. That's the reason why your game sometimes just crashes unexpectedly and just have no error messages, or it just crashes when you have some other application as well in the background running together, and it just what it is, right? It's a beta. They are probably going to try to streamline all these issues whenever the game is close to release, I suppose. But for now, the most important thing is that you get your game playable, I guess. If anybody who have any interest at all in an all-out warfare, all combined arms kind of a game, Battlefield is the game. Now, it's not just for Battlefield fans, of course. They are trying to get in the hard players as well, which is pretty ironic considering the fact that they don't really want to stick to the COD formula. They wanted to go for their own style. But if people were to look at this game from an outside perspective, they would just think this is like a different COD, a COD with more all-out warfare, apparently. But for now, in the beta, the maps that they provide to us is probably feeling like that. And that's the reason why some streamers or just some players who enjoy Battlefield because of its large maps is just not a fan of the current beta maps, I suppose. But I understand what is their philosophy on developing the maps. At first glance, you might look at the map and just feel like it's actually very, very small, but the amount of walking distance that we had to traverse in order for us to reach from the HQ to another base to another objective point is actually pretty okay. Now compare this to like the older Battlefield games, you realize that the objective sites are just so far away that it become mostly like an empty walking simulator until somebody snipe you from afar, or you got destroyed by the weather, or you just got killed by a tank as well. And it's how it is, right? Some people prefer like a smaller and more tight map because they know that it's going to do more and force more players to do engagement with other players, with the enemies, because a lot of people still play recon as a camping class, unfortunately, and you can see it's pretty obvious that recons are just mostly just standing on the highest location ever and just keep shooting from afar and until they land a hit. The only time they probably move away is because somebody is trying to attack them or purge them. But then they have the recon spawning kit or something, the recon spawning unit. I think this thing, however, is going to maybe change to Assault in the future. But since they did not really like put this newer feature in the current beta build, we just don't really know what it's going to look like when Assault is the one that has the spawn beacon, and well, Recon is actually going to become a spec op class, just like how in Bad Company 2, I think, if I'm not wrong, from Battlefield Bad Company 2 back then. So all in all, right, I think the game is solid. I even spent several hours at the start of the early access releases launch time is that to just troubleshooting my own graphics card and just pray, completely just pray to God to just make sure that somehow, somewhere, I managed to play several games. I managed to get in 3 games until I find a real fix. And that's just how it is, right? Because unfortunately, it's an old build. It's not the latest build of the beta that we are playing at the moment. So there's going to bound to have some weird and incompatibility issues having to do with Intel Arc, Alchemist, or A series GPUs. So I literally spent like more than like several hours or maybe 10 hours on end to just fix this issue to no avail. Somebody recommended to change into window mode, and then it still does not work. And then somebody actually found out that, hey, only one map, which is the King's Battery or the Iberian offensive maps, is the only map that is loadable and playable for you, apparently, if you are an Intel Arc user. So by then, I was lucky to actually get 3 games before, and then completely crashing for the other attempts. After like 10 times, luckily Intel has noticed this issue, and they decided to just try to make a new driver as soon as possible. And on this second day of the early access day, they managed to churn out a new driver, which is pretty impressive considering the fact that this issue is only pertaining to the Intel Arc A series and not the B series. If the B series is actually able to play the game fine, it's just that the performance of this B series card is a little bit left to be desired, unfortunately, because I heard some people having horror stories of like only getting 50 FPS with B580s, and I'm like, why? But I think it's more likely because of the game is actually much more CPU intensive than GPU intensive. That's the reason why the game can be run by low-end GPUs as well, because they already expected that they wanted to gain as much players as possible. So I think Frostbite engine just fits very, very well, especially how they did with like Battlefield 1, the Battlefront series. I mean, those games still hold up till today because Frostbite engine's graphics is just so good, right? So what they're trying to do here is basically just allow a lot of people with random computers setups or specifications to finally able to play a polished game even in the open beta, which I actually appreciate, because a lot of games nowadays in this 2025 or big 25 is just unoptimized garbage. Like, sure, you have Expedition 33, the game is only good when you're able to run it, but the problem with me running it is that I have choppy frame rates. And unfortunately, because of that, I had to use like a workarounds or reduce the graphics to something usable at all to just play the game. And unfortunately, because there's no supported, features of Intel upscaling solutions, it is also kind of looking very bad with the FSR solution. Because this was the time before, FSR4 was released. But even if FSR4 is here, it's also the same as DLSS4, which is only exclusive for certain graphic cards, unfortunately. And that's just how it is, because the GPU companies wanted you to buy new cards, so they always going to like put a selling point on why you need to get this card because of these frames, but it's all fake frames, unfortunately. There will be one day, I believe, that AI is going to make good frame generation, but for now it's just Oh, I'm actually playing in a very, very hard to play server, which is Asia. Asia, I guess, because I'm going to be matched up with every single Asian, from Chinese to China, to like Indonesia to Thailand to Malaysia and everybody else in Southeast Asia as well, which is pretty interesting considering the fact that the game is fine. It's not groundbreaking, but I would prefer that they somehow use this foundation to streamline a lot of things so that they can improve the game even further. Firstly, I would like to say that Battlefield 6 is actually immersive enough to be fun. It's not that it's bad, it's not that it's not good enough, but I think Battlefield 6 is it's just I haven't get the full feeling of the Battlefield days when I'm playing like Battlefield 3 and 4 yet, but that might have been a placebo effect because so far playing on the conquest maps is actually pretty fun if your teammate actually plays with you. If your teammate is just some random people who don't really play a lot of team together or something like that, nah, it's going to be a bad experience, unfortunately. But whenever I got a team that actually actively tries to revive you whenever we are actually in the safe zone, etc., that is the team that I wish I had to play with all the time. But unfortunately, most of them just left after like the first match, and then that's it. And then I match up with like the random people again. I think Battlefield 6 Beta at the moment in this like older build, it's kind of tricky to navigate, to be honest. Firstly, it seemed like it's actually very great, it's very good, but then you gotta realize that they are doing this based around on a lot of mechanics from Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and then it's very shallow unless you play those games before and you just realize, hey, they at least upgraded a lot of stuff so that this game would be able to fit into the modern audience of FPS gamers. And there's a little bit of pandering towards the COD player base, but that's just inevitable, I think, because Battlefield was always Call of Duty's competitor. Even though they failed a lot, it's still technically still the most important competitor as well. Same goes with Intel as well, which I mean, sure, Intel's market share is very low, but B580 at least hiked them up a lot, so it's actually pretty okay. Now, do I think that this game is actually worth $70 by just playing this open beta at the moment? I don't think so. Until we see all the modes that is available to us, and until I see there are good portal maps to be played with or built with, then I would actually decide if the game is actually decent at all. Because so far, I think the presentation, the performance optimization is just top tier. Like, that is no denying it, right? This is the live service AAA model that should have been followed from the beginning. Unlike a lot of Unreal Engine 5 games where they just stutter like a mess in my GPU because of certain features not available there, it just sucks to have like, a game that is not optimized, but your GPU is actually costing even more than what you paid for, but that's just the reality of it, right? So Intel Arc has been serving me pretty well, especially in Battlefield 6, because at least Intel partnered with EA this time to try to optimize the game and make it suitable for all Intel products, of course, which is including my i5 12400 and also my Intel Arc A770 X with 16 gigabytes of VRAM. That is actually pretty decent, to be honest. Now, then what else can I want to comment about it? I think the gunplay still needs to be adjusted a little bit, because I think the time to kill is fine. It's just that the time to death is too fast. Sometimes I think maybe it's an internet, a latency issue, but sometimes the enemy can just shoot me and kill me when I manage to reach behind a wall. But I think that is because I am not able to keep up with my shooters ping. That's the reason why they are able to shoot me down right before I enter to my safe zone. But those are pretty rare to happening, unfortunately, and most people who actually killed you, they usually just proceed further away because they know that your body would not harm them, except if you try to locate them directly when you are dying, and that's actually a pretty good feature as well. Yes, the ability to actually, play this game is just so good. It really brings me back to those feeling of like playing the Battlefield 3 and just enjoying the magical moment of chaos in the battlefield, just like usually it usually does. And it's unfortunate that, the older Battlefield games are just saturated at the moment. That's the reason why the player base numbers are not exactly equal or just very, very low, but that's just what it is. People don't care about new games or old games as long as they look good, as long as they play good, you are fine. But so far, when they actually announced about the, removal of hackers and stuff like that with the Javelin system, I'm still very doubtful that they can completely purge the cheaters completely on the launch, I guess, but that's pretty rare still. I just wish that, there is more maps for us to play in this beta. And so far, the only map that is my favorite is probably just Conquest. The map layout and the map design leaves to be a lot to be desired, sure, but I understand why they had to make combat zones be like this, because not every single path is going to be, usable if you don't really use that kind of setting, and that's just how it is. I think the most important takeaway from Battlefield 6 is that you can actually play this game using a very, very budget build system. As long as your system supports, secure boot, or if your, BIOS does not support it, but there is a workaround to activating secure boot, you technically can just play this game even if you're on like less than 6 gigabytes of VRAM. Because I heard some people actually use 4 gigabytes VRAM GPUs and they somehow managed to get the game to play. Now the frame rate is going to tank a lot, sure, and their older chipsets might not be able to handle it as well, but as long as their PCs have at least 6 threads and 6 cores, 12 threads, I think you are fine. You should be okay with the performance, because with my A770 here, on Ultra, it performs like 60 to 70, to sometimes a bit of 90s when nothing is going on around. And that's amazing. Considering the fact that this is still a beta build, by the way, it's not the final build. Imagine how optimized it would be when the final build actually arrives. Not to mention, I spent so much hours to just fix this issue. Eventually, we even posted it and sent all of the issues warnings to like all of Intel staff and stuff like that. And luckily, I encountered a person who actually replied how to fix the game, and it works. The problem is, in order to make it work, you require an old Intel software, which is kind of funny, but that's just how it is, right? So you install it and then you just set the game to compatibility to advanced, and somehow the game is not going to crash whenever you load into these Liberation Peak maps or Siege of Cairo maps, I guess. So there's that. But right after, like, figure out the fix, Intel noticed this issue and they quickly devised a plan to make a new driver, and the next day they deliver it, which is very amazing, considering the fact that, they should be focusing on the Battlemage GPU series, because that is probably the most selling GPU at the moment, because they are always running out of stock because of how good they are in terms of bang for the buck. But if it's overpriced, please do not buy it if you already have like an A series GPU, because I don't really think the update is going to help you that much. It's not going to make your game like 100 times better, but it's just what it is, right? Do I recommend Battlefield 6 to the common people? I'll just say yes, because Battlefield 6, unlike a lot of FPS games, you don't have to care if you're skilled or not, but as long as you know how to play the objective, you are in, right? We are not asking you to be like crazy COD players who are aiming for headshots and kills and destroy as much tanks as possible kind of guy. No, we are not asking you to become meta slaves and stuff like that. Battlefield is going to get balanced all the time. And if I'm not wrong with this live service model, they definitely are able to, patch the game up just like how Helldivers 2 did. So I don't really think it's an issue. A lot of people seem to think like, oh wow, this is nothing completely related to the older Battlefield games. Not really. The older Battlefield games have limitations, and as such, they cannot really perform a lot of things that is happening in Battlefield 6. So that's just how it is. Because remember, Battlefield 3 released like 11 years ago. That's quite some time, man. That's a long time. So you have to remember that, they are trying their best to try to get players feedback because they're trying to strain the servers on making sure that the servers don't really like crash and burn in when the launch date comes, stuff like that happened in 2042. And I'm really glad that Vince Zampella actually decided to stick with the Battlefield studios, even though he's a founder of the original company called Infinity Ward, which is still owned by Blizzard, by the way. It's kind of ironic here because Vince Zampella made Battlefield 6, and it just really feels like it's a personal attack against the Call of Duty franchise, and it shows. We are literally playing in a very gritty future war. Although it's not really that far in the future, the weapons we use have new naming conventions and a lot of different datas and a lot of different colors. So depending on who you're playing with, I guess it's fine as long as there's no propaganda being put up ahead or something like that. But that's just how it is. Now, is there anything I would like this game to improve? Well, for once, I don't really know, because I think the developers are the best people to actually decide if a certain feature is actually good or not, or a feature is, or if there's any, QoL that is actually way better than whatever we have at the moment. It's just that it will take time. But for now, if you are new and you haven't tried Battlefield 6 Beta yet, just try it. As long as you have secure boot enabled, you should be fine. So hey, Battlefield 6 Beta, amazing. What can I say about it? I'm not the best players out there. Among all the players out there like Shroud or something, no, I'm not exactly that great. Sometimes, most of the time I just get negative KD ratios because I got killed so much. But at the same time, most of those kills are either skill related or they are just literally blatantly using a hacks or something, I guess. But time will tell that we will know that who is the real tanks and who is the fake tanks, stuff like that. So yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Like that for up until its release and launch date. Hopefully they will reveal more about the newer, larger maps like Firestorm or the Battle Royale mode that they tease in the review trailer, I guess. So other than that, I guess that's it for me talking about Battlefield 6. And remember guys, don't pre-order if you think it's not worth it, or if you don't really like the game's systems or the gameplay and how it plays. Yeah, at the moment it's topping Steam charts, but it's not exactly that fast like in comparison to other games. So you should be okay, whenever you're dealing with situations like this. For me, I'm a very patient guy. That's the reason why I'm able to, stay awake and do that whole thing again, comparison to like, just playing it temporarily. Like everybody's squad is nothing until you get the proper squad treatment, etc, etc. It's just stupid. Okay. With that said, I'll see you next time, guys. Sayonara.
Echo has been neutralized.